with what Hillary is saying. In the 9th month, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb of the mother just prior to the birth of the baby. Now, you can say that that's okay, and Hillary can say that that's okay, but it's not okay with me. Because based on what she's saying and based on where she's going and where she's been, you can take the baby and rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month on the final day. And that's not acceptable.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the Devil's Doctor, living in South Bend, Indiana, the city which Pete Buttigieg is mayor of. We're going to take a look at this story of a doctor who was under trial and passed away, who has been found to have had thousands of aborted fetuses inside of his house, where it's alleged he was performing backroom abortions on girls as young as 10 years old. We're going to talk about that, plus a whole bunch of other news stories you guys are going to stick around and check out. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. As always, I begin by saying thank you to every one of you who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Here we are, still waiting on the Q board to come back up, and I can tell you right now, I've been reaching out to some of my sources on this one, and what I think's happening is they're setting these aggressive timelines to get the site back up, but they're working on some major issues that have to be corrected before it can come back up. So as soon as 8chan is back up, I'm sure we'll get more Q posts, but right now, the individuals running the board are doing their best to make that happen, in my opinion. As of now, though, we only have these posts up to 3570, but as Q's been telling us for a very long time, we have so much more than we know. And we're going to get into some of these stories and how they might be connected, including this really disturbing story coming out of South Bend, Indiana. Not surprisingly, Pete Buttigieg's town that he runs. So we're going to talk about that story, plus a bunch of other stuff you guys want to stick around to check out. But before we get into all that, I always encourage everyone to come back here, watch these last few videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. And if you scratch your head, go, what is QAnon the Great Awakening? Watch this one, share it on your social media. And the reason I always do that, there's content suppression that is active on every video that I put up on YouTube. At this point, it wouldn't matter if I made a video of puppies and kittens playing in a beautiful field in front of a beautiful lake with a 10-foot billboard next to them that says, "I love socialism." It really wouldn't matter. These people are suppressing the content on this channel, and it seems to be a regular occurrence, and they're not trying to hide it. You have the CEO of YouTube writing blogs, bragging about how they are restricting the access to this content. They're restricting the algorithmic suggestions that promote this content, how they are deeming themselves the arbiters of truth and morality in society and making themselves the arbiters of what is true so that they can go in and say that anything that disagrees with their fake lies is not true. So and not trustworthy, not authoritative, as they like to use their phrase they use all the time, which is pretty appropriate because they are authoritarians. So they do need to give you the authoritarian content that they hand select for you to consume. This content and others like who do this kind of stuff are being suppressed. And this is a gross violation of our civil rights, but it seems that nobody is doing much about it. But as we know right now, big tech is getting hit with these massive antitrust violations, and this is a group of attorney generals from across the country. We have 50, I believe, decided to come together to launch this probe into Google over these allegations that are continuing to pop up of their anti-competitive behavior. But we already know what they're doing. People like organizations like Project Veritas and those who have come forward against these major tech corporations are exposing on a regular basis the fact that they're not just anti-competitive, they are politically biased in favor of one side over the other, which means that they are giving in-kind campaign donations to their favored parties, which is illegal because it's going around federal election campaign finance law. So this is really, in my opinion, a question of, is Google going to be held accountable for their multiple violations of federal law, or Are the attorney generals of our states across the country going to buckle under the immense pressure of Google's litigious network of lawyers and lobbyists? We're going to have to wait and see how this happens to come together. But I can tell you right now, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter, all of these companies are involved in the most gross violation of the law I've ever seen that has still to this day not been addressed properly. And hopefully this is the first step in addressing it in the proper way it needs to be. But obviously it's anti-competitive behavior times 100 when you think of the amount of power people like Dr. Robert Epstein, not related to Jeffrey Epstein, pointed out on Capitol Hill during open testimony, where he said that Google could manipulate 10 million votes before an election, if not more, subliminally, without anyone knowing, simply by manipulating search results, simply by Facebook putting out a reminder saying you should go vote only to Democrats. These kind of things we have to remember, and that's what this content suppression is all about. That's why I ask you to share this content, because these big tech companies think that they are the arbiters of truth and morality and bigger than government. They think they're bigger than the American people. They think you are a slave to be controlled as such. So if you don't want to be a slave, I'd encourage you to share this content. Now let's get right into it. This is another byproduct of this big tech censorship, these deranged, and yes, they are deranged, Antifa, and the fact that in Portland we have this disgusting example of anti-Americanism at its finest. Now, I'm not going to play the video, but these young cadets are being sworn in, I believe, to the U.S. Armed Services during this soccer game. And there's a point in their oath where they say that they have to obey the orders of the President of the United States. And as soon as that part of it is brought up, you can hear the crowd start booing and yelling and screaming like a bunch of deranged psychopaths. Well, why do I say that? Because this is America. President Trump is the elected leader, democratically, mind you, who has been attacked with this illegal coup. You have the fake news media lying every single day trying to undermine his administration. You have big tech censors working every day to undermine his election in 2020. And you have a soccer stadium full of completely brainwashed leftist lunatics booing the men and women who are going to fight to protect their freedoms domestically and abroad. And it's disgusting, and it's another example of how our country is being torn apart by these institutions, by the big tech institution, by the big media institutions. These institutions are what are dividing and destroying our country by design. They are trying to destroy our country to protect the elite class that controls them. Never forget that. Of course, right as President Trump has confirmed officially, the U.S. has killed Osama bin Laden's son Hamza after many reports came out. The death was not confirmed, but now it has been. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. For them who say that nothing is happening and President Trump's not working to protect us globally, well, I would say that I would defer my opinion is that President Trump's doing everything to defend our country, and nobody seems to care. And that brings us to Jim Jordan, Representative Jim Jordan. And we're going to watch a few clips real quick. They're incredible. Jim Jordan just completely tearing apart the red flag laws, which are the most gross violation of due process and civil rights I've seen so far. I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse, like we are living in George Orwell's 1984. And he's going to talk about the whole idea that they're going to rewrite the rules in Congress in order to make impeachment a probability, even though they have absolutely zero evidence for any crime committed by President Trump. They're just changing the rules, moving the goalposts so they can keep investigating indefinitely. Now watch Jim Jordan tear it apart.
I thank the chairman. The House Judiciary passes this bill today, we will have changed a fundamental and sacred principle in this country. In America, you are innocent until proven guilty, until today. If we pass this bill today, we are going to invert the standard and say you are guilty until proven innocent. And you will be guilty without doing anything wrong. Under this bill, you are guilty without doing anything wrong simply because someone thinks you might do something wrong. And who is the someone under this bill who can petition a court to take away your Second Amendment liberties? Who is the someone defined under this bill? Page 13, Amendment of Nature Substitute. The chairman just introduced it. Top of page 13, it says family or household member. Go down to subsection D. Who's a household member? An individual who resides or who has resided with the respondent during the past year. A roommate who hung out with you for 1 month last year can go petition a court to take away your Second Amendment liberties. Some roommate maybe didn't like you. Some thought you were a slob. Whatever, can go petition the court to take away your fundamental right without you doing anything wrong. And oh, guess what? Guess what? When they go in the court to take away your fundamental liberty, even though you haven't done anything, committed no crime, guess what? You don't even get to be there. You don't even get to defend yourself. That's exactly what this bill does. And Mr. Raskin has talked about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. I heard him on TV talk about it. I heard him twice now in this committee hearing today talk about it. And that's how we're going to take away someone's Second Amendment liberties. And this is the House Judiciary Committee, for goodness sake. What other constitutional right can you lose without doing anything wrong and without your knowledge and then have to go petition a court to get it back? Tell me what that is.
I'm happy to answer.
That happens. Tell me when that happens. This bill is so wrong on so many levels. It violates fundamental Second Amendment rights. It violates property rights. It violates due process rights. And yet today, the House Judiciary Committee, with the storied history this committee has in defending the Bill of Rights, is going to pass this legislation. I mean, this is scary. This is a scary road to start heading down. We all want to stop gun violence. We all know these terrible, evil things that happen are just that terrible and evil. But doing it, trying to do something that this bill seeks to do in this manner is so fundamentally wrong. And again, for the Judiciary Committee in the United States House of Representatives, who is charged more than any other committee in this body with defending the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, to pass this, it's just wrong. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 days ago, Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee voted to take away an American citizen's Second Amendment rights. You voted to do that even though that citizen had committed no crime, and you voted to allow their rights to be taken in a court proceeding that citizen doesn't even get to show up to defend themselves. Now today, you're changing the rules to make it easier for you to pursue impeachment of the President of the United States, changing the rules 9 months into the new Congress. First, you vote to take away Americans' firearms. Then you vote to impeach the guy they elected president, all in 1 week. Actually, all in less than 48 hours in the House Judiciary Committee, the committee that's supposed to protect the rules, supposed to protect constitutional rights. All in less than 48 hours, you're doing it. And why are you changing the rules? Why are you changing the rules? The gentlelady from Arizona was right. Because nothing else has worked for you. The Michael Cohen hearing was a flop. The John Dean hearing was a flop. And everyone in the country knows the Bob Mueller hearing, they saw it. That was a flop. So let's change the rules in the middle of the game because we got to find something. We're out to get this. We got to find something. Never forget how this whole thing started. Never forget how this whole thing started. A false accusation about the President of the United States, saying the President coordinated with a foreign country to influence the election. Jim Comey investigated that for 10 months. Guess what? He found nothing. And we know he found nothing because we deposed him, and he told us after 10 months they didn't have a thing. But that didn't stop it. 22 months later, Bob Mueller does a special counsel investigation. He investigates it for 22 months, and what does he tell us? Other members have already said this. He found nothing. No coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia to impact the election. 32 months of investigations, they find nothing. But what do Democrats want to do? What do they want to do now? Change the rules, keep investigating, because we got to find something so we can impeach this president. Maybe the country would be better served. maybe the constituents we represent would be better served if we actually figured out how the false accusation happened. And the good news is, as I've said before in this committee, the good news is that's exactly what the Attorney General of the United States is doing. And thank God for Bill Barr. That's exactly what he's doing. But you know what? We could do the same thing. We could do the same thing. And a great place to start is right where Mr. Shabbat just said. Why don't we start with the Inspector General, not just any Inspector General, the Inspector General for the Justice Department, which we have jurisdiction over, just issued a report 2 weeks ago, scathing report on the guy who's most responsible for this 3-year saga that our country has had to live through, Jim Comey. Jim Comey, the guy who opened the investigation in July of 2016. Jim Comey, the guy who allowed Peter Strzok to run that investigation after that guy had ran the Clinton investigation, after that guy had said to Lisa Page, another FBI employee, "Don't worry, Lisa, we'll stop Trump." Jim Comey, the guy who allowed the dossier to go to the secret court to be used to spy on a fellow American associated with the Trump campaign. Jim Comey, who leaked information to the New York Times through his friends so we would get the special counsel. Jim Comey, the guy who on January 6th goes to Trump Tower trying to trap the president while he's telling the president he's not under investigation. Scathing report by the Inspector General on that guy. And when I asked the chairman 2 days ago when he was busy taking away people's Second Amendment rights, when I asked him two days ago when we might have a chance to question the Inspector General, his response, the chairman of the Judiciary's response was, "I don't know, we haven't thought about that." That is scary. That is scary when you have the Inspector General issue that kind of report and the chairman of the Judiciary Committee doesn't even know a thing about it, hasn't even thought about when we're going to bring him in so we can talk to him. This is the Judiciary Committee, for goodness sake. And think about what has happened in 48 hours in this committee. This is scary. And everyone in the country knows, and everyone who said this earlier, they know that there aren't the votes to do this. There aren't the votes to do this right. So you're playing this game in the Judiciary Committee, of all places. Maybe if you were a little less focused on taking people's Second Amendment rights and impeaching the guy they made president, we could actually do what this committee is supposed to do. I yield back.
So as you saw Jim Jordan there basically give this scathing indictment of the Democrats and their corrupt syndicate that is taken over the Judiciary Committee, and now that they're trying to move the goalposts and trying to make the rules different for impeachment. We have the DOJ filing a devastating brief exposing Jerry Nadler's impeachment inquiry scam. Now, I'll leave the link for you guys to go check out, but this references here from Kyle Cheney, the report or the document that was put out by the DOJ saying that a few different things they point out here. On the same day that the House adopted the resolution that the committee claims authorized this suit, the Speaker told a reporter the House Democrat caucus was not even close to an impeachment inquiry. So it's talking about the doublespeak that we hear from these people. It talks about here, as Chairman Nadler explained in a news conference the same day the committee filed this application, an impeachment inquiry is when you consider only impeachment. That's not what we're doing. We're investigating all of this, and we'll see what remedies we could recommend, including articles of impeachment, but not limited to that. So remember, these people are practicing something called doublespeak. They're saying one thing and doing another. So they're telling the American people in the committee, well, we're not doing anything wrong here. We're just looking at this. And then they're going back to their constituencies and saying, yes, we are going to impeach. We are going to change the rules as they are established in order to continue to facilitate this fraud investigation, which has been going on for 3 years, mind you. They've been investigating President Trump's connections to Russia as far as hoaxes or as far as collusion goes for the last 3 years. And they have found zero, nada, nothing. Yet, here we are still fighting these corrupt criminals in Congress. So my question is, at what point do you look at these individuals and say, you are actively engaging in an act which is meant to undermine the established constitutional order and to effectively make yourselves able to attack, suppress, and control the executive branch by effectively removing President Trump's ability to take executive privilege. And it's another form of a coup. You have Jerry Nadler, the House Judiciary Committee, trying to push this impeachment because they're trying to overthrow the president of the United States. And there's no reason for needing to do this other than the fact that they are not in power, and President Trump is exposing them and their corrupt, complicit co-conspirators. So, look, that's where we're at right now. TikTok AG Barr is has finally received the FISA abuse report, so it's only a matter of, I think, a couple more weeks before that full report is released. And we have to ask the question, was there a seditious conspiracy against the president? As per 18 U.S. Code 2384, a seditious conspiracy is defined as if two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States, or to leave a war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force seize, take, or possess any property of the United States contrary to the authority thereof, they shall each be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years, or both. Well, I have a long list of people who I think may be involved in a very seditious conspiracy against the President of the United States. And I think you know who those people are. So we're going to have to see how many people actually get 20 years in prison for doing this, trying to effectively undermine and undo the 2016 election by trying to illegally remove a duly elected president. I want to get more into that, right? But now let's get into some more disturbing things. Remember, post 17 is something that we should always remember. It's one of the first posts that Q gave us back in October 2017 saying, why does Obama travel in advance of POTUS to foreign locations? Why is this relevant? Focus on the power of POTUS as it relates to the Marines. How can military intelligence be applied to prosecute bad actors and avoid corrupt agencies and judges? Biggest drop on poll. Above is reason why the shills are sliding. In case you didn't know, shill logs send, this talks about how the bots work. But this first part is what's important. This is where we're at right now. Obama was trying to get ahead of what President Trump was doing. President Trump was always 10 steps ahead. We've been working with military intelligence to expose these criminals, and there are ways that we've been working that have been legal but have been necessary to bring these individuals to justice. Now, with that being said, remember that this was back in October of 2017 when we were told that this was all happening. And now we have Epstein's entire network exposed and broken into 1,000 pieces. Here's Naomi Campbell. What about her and all of her connections? There's Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand man, John of God, the person who Oprah Winfrey's best friends with, who was exposed as being a criminal pedophile, a child abuser. Then you have, of course, here with Virginia Roberts, who was the underage woman who Epstein was exploiting, allegedly, according to court documents, and was abusing and was selling and pimping out to his elite high-class friends to abuse. She's claimed publicly that Prince Andrew and many other high elites were involved in child prostitution that was being done by Jeffrey Epstein and his ilk, right? Not to mention her close relationship with Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, all of the people who we are continuing to expose. And she has to put out this cryptic message saying that it's not her fault that she was around all these people, that you can't just say it's because you're well, no, actually, we can ask this question, especially given the fact, as we've seen in court documents shown, that Jeffrey Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel, and many others with Ghislaine Maxwell and the rest were using these elite modeling agencies to procure child prostitutes for the elite, which they were then using to sexually compromise them in order to obtain blackmail or extortion evidence. And this was a part of an intelligence gathering operation, but Naomi Campbell has no idea about that, right? No idea. And you know what? By the way, to everyone out there, I guess there's nothing happening at all. Right? We're not actively shutting down these global child prostitution rings. None of that is happening. So just don't believe your lying eyes here as we look at this final story. Thousands of fetal remains found in home of former South Bend abortion doctor. Now, apparently this Dr. Ulrich Klopfer, who had been accused before and lost his ability to perform medicine, his medical license, was accused of failing to report an abortion performed on a 13-year-old girl. Now, we have it coming out that inside of his private home, there were 2,200 fetal remains, over 2,200 fetal remains, of course, in Mayor Pete's South Bend, Indiana. I guess the story goes that he passed away on September 3rd, and as his family was cleaning out his house and going through his belongings, they just happened to stumble upon over 2,000 aborted fetuses. Now, you can say whatever you want, but I'm just going to throw it out there. If in fact there are cults that are globally running this kind of child prostitution, and then they would have to have things like doctors, evil, demonic, devil doctors who would perform abortions on girls as young as 10 years old, which is what is alleged by this WSBT 22. This is CBS News. This isn't me making this up. They actually say in their reporting on this individual that he's been accused of performing abortions on girls as young as 10 years old. So if you were to need a demonic, evil person to come do a backdoor, closed, secret abortion, I'm telling you, this is the kind of guy, and who knows how many of these people exist around the country. So I have to ask the question now, why is the mainstream media digging more into who this guy's connected to? I wonder. I'd be very interested to see if Mayor Pete has ever received contributions from this individual. I'm not saying that would implicate anything other than an interesting new twist to the story, but let's just ask these questions nobody wants to ask, right? That's why we have to do what we do. That's why we're going around the fake news media, and that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. I want to encourage everyone to keep digging. There's links to everything in the description. Go down there, check it out. Watch these videos, share them on your social media, hit that share button, hit the subscribe button, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all of it. Don't forget to be brave. I keep reminding you guys, look, this is a great way to support the channel. It's free, and it's a great product. So it's like a win-win all around. What is it? If you use the Internet Explorer on your computer, whether it's the Windows Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, you have the ads that continue to pop up. And I'll tell you what, sometimes I go to a website and I can't even read the article because there's so many advertisements. Well, this fixes that problem. You download the Brave browser using the link in the description of this video. You install it just like you would any other program on your computer, and you run it just like you would any other internet browser, but it blocks ads and it makes your internet experience that much better. So please, by all means, use the link in the description, download it, and know that when you download it, you'll get a great product and you'll be helping support Just Informed Talk. So it's a win-win, and I appreciate everybody that goes and does that. Also, don't forget to go check out JUSTINFORMEDNEWS.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where you can get all the different links to the Q stuff, links to different news sites, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. So that's a good tool for you guys to use. I'm going to put that out there for y'all. Also, don't forget to check me out on on Twitter at JustInformYou. That's the official Just Informed Talk Twitter page. Come over here, give me a follow. We can have a conversation outside the channel. It's a great way to connect, and I really appreciate your support there. A couple other ways you can help out are both financial. There's Patreon, the crowdfunding website, patreon.com. It's a website. You go there. There's a link in the description. You click that button and become a patron, and it's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it, and know that because YouTube is suppressing the content and they're not monetizing anything, you're the ones funding the content creation here on this channel. So thank you for your support. Channel could not work without you guys. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to both will be in the description. Now, before we go, I want to share a piece of scripture in our segment that we do at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, I want to talk about something very important. And this is talking about competing for the faith. And this is out of the book of 1 Timothy, and it's chapter 6, verse 11 and 12. It says, "Now, you, man of God, run from these things, but pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Fight the good fight for the faith. Take hold of eternal life, to which you were called and have made a good confession before many witnesses." Now that's simple, right? But it talks about something I think is important, an important message to share with everyone, right? We have to run from the things that are evil. but pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. But it says we still have to fight the good fight for the faith. So my message here is to remind us all that when we stand and rebuke this evil, when we call on the Lord to come and help us fight this battle against a truly demonic force that has overtaken so much of this world, it is with our hearts that we must remind ourselves to have righteousness, to be glad, to have godliness, to pursue our faith and love and endurance and gentleness while we make this stand against evil. It's a tough balance, I know. And some of the simplest things are just not easy. But you got to remind yourself every single day that you, me, all of us, we're all children of God. And we have to fight for what's right, and we have to stand against evil when we see it. That's what we're called to do. And in my opinion, I think that fighting the good fight for the faith is how we take hold of our eternal life in heaven. Is not backing down, not letting Satan win, and standing and showing the devil right to his face that our love for one another, our ability to trust in God, and our collective spirit will never be broken. That is the Holy Spirit that lives in each and every one of us. So remember that. Take that into the world. Share it with your friends and family. Remember that we stand and fight the good fight for the faith. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode. Come here, click this button if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe. Also, don't forget, hit it, bop it, headbutt it, tap it, flick it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.